The idea for the risk exhibition came about really thinking about artists taking creative risks in their practice. Sometimes that's risk around politics, sometimes it's risk around the use of materials, risk in how they use themselves.
Risk has to do with the fact that we are conscious of being at risk or taking a risk. If I'm living in a city that is under threat of terrorism, I am taking a risk by living there, but it's not really my choice. Our responsibility to understand what's dangerous and what is not is completely taken away from us.
In art, you have to take risks, otherwise you're not going to break through to something else. You know, you're going to work in a very flat sort of way. I have always thought that I should make quite political work about what's going on in Britain. There isn't a risk in making that. You can make political criticism. In a lot of the world, if you made the sort of work that I do, you'd be arrested, locked up, and whatever would happen to you. I've always thought it's important to use a certain sort of privilege that society presents. And it's been a risk that I've made work that is not saleable. People don't want to put the sort of thing I do in their front rooms, particularly you know, skeletons reading magazines and what have you. So the risk has been involved in making the work I want to do, and then but also being able to make a living.
It was about basically sort of seduction and denial, and the idea that this was shocking if X, Y and Z happened. So it was about the what if scenario. So I went from that kind of lots of work about fragility and what could happen if.
This piece that's showing at Turner Contemporary is one of the biggest risks I've taken in a physical sense and a conceptual one as well. And the idea of the fall is that I myself am falling into the unknown, but then also for me it is a known process, but for the audience there is this element of whether or not it's staged or accidental or intentional. There is this kind of element of letting go of a fear of holding on. It's also a bit like leaving everything and just allowing yourself to fall.
I take a lot of risk, particularly in sailing out of crane. I wasn't aware of the risk I was taking when I was talking to Hillary. Coming into her world was for me taking a risk that I wasn't really aware at the beginning. Learning to sail, it was an extraordinary experience for me in terms of physical, psychological and emotional level.
Facing risk delivers a bit of adrenaline. You've got to think on your feet about overcoming the situation, whatever the situation might be. We've prepared really well for the risks at sea and any risks on board the boat. So it's really the simple things that catch you out. So it might be in the car, it might be just taking the steps up to the changing room that catches you out, and not necessarily the occasions where people might expect the risks to take place. So I suppose I'm a risk taker, but we're really well prepared to take the risks.
We can see risk in every work of art. There is this expression in Italy that says chi non risica non rosica, which means the one, if you don't risk, you don't gain. It's basically a calculus of probability. It's like the more is at stake, the more you can win, the greatest can be your achievement.